Hey Scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole's Scrapbooks, and I'm coming to you today with two quick and easy Halloween scrapbook borders that use only cardstock and a few very basic Creative Memories tools. We're going to be using the 12-inch trimmer, the border maker system, and the custom cutting system. And some of these things you can replicate whether or not you have those tools, but if you have those tools, it's going to make it a lot easier. So we've got the candy corn and the ghosts. I'm going to start with the candy corn. This is one of my favorite border techniques. The candy corn is something that I learned years and years ago when I was a new Creative Memories consultant back in the early 2000s. And it's just a fun, easy way to add a little pop of color to your layout. So for this, we're going to need all three circles from the custom cutting system and the red and blue blades. We do have 3 blades that come with this system. We're going to use the green for the ghosts, but for this we just need the red and blue blade, all 3 circles. You need a 3 by 12 inch strip of leaf green paper, a 3 by 12 inch strip of eggplant cardstock, and then you need orange, white, and yellow to make the actual candy corn. So let's start with the border, because that's going to be the easiest part, and then we'll have our base done. So we're going to leave the green strip just as it is, 3 by 12. But if you can see on here, I added a little bit of a scalloped edge to the purple just for some visual interest. And it's super easy to do that scallop border with the 12-inch trimmer using the scallop blade. Oh, upside down. Using the scallop blade. So as you know, if you've watched my other videos, the 12-inch trimmer comes with a straight blade, and then you can buy these additional blades to go along with it. And the scallop is one of my favorites. I will say that the one thing about the scallop blade that is different is this is one of the few blades that isn't omnidirectional, if that's a word. Because it does make that specific scallop that kind of goes this way, you do want to pay attention to how you put the blade in. And in order to cut this direction scallop, so for this border that it will be on the outside, when you put your blade in the housing, I'm going to pop out my straight blade, you want to take the words, the printing on the blade itself, and have those face toward the logo. All right, so that way you'll know that you're going to get the scallop in the direction that you want. And then I'm just going to take this 3 by 12 piece of paper, and when you're cutting, the cutting line is also the one that's the closest to the logo. So you can see on mine, I've worn it away a little bit up here. This number 1 is my cutting line. So I'm going to line up my paper with the next set of dash lines, which is going to be about 1/8 of an inch from the actual cut line. And that works great to just cut this down to the size I want so that I'll have just a little bit of a border on my green cardstock. I'm going to flip it over, do the exact same thing, put the paper lined up with that second cutting line. And so here's my border. Now you could, if you cut this wrong, if you put your blade in the other way, it would not look bad to have the border kind of be in that direction, but I like it with the kind of bubbly side going out. So so the secret with that is to do line up the words with the logo. And then you don't need a whole lot of adhesive for this. Our adhesive is designed to be really strong and sticky, and just kind of position this on top of your base piece. And so there's our base to put our candy corns on. So the next piece we're going to cut for the actual candy corn. And if you look at a real candy corn, the outside section is yellow, and then the big section in the middle is orange, and then there's the white tip. So we're going to use all 3 of these circles, but not necessarily in the way that you might expect. So we're going to use the biggest circle with the red blade on the outside to cut our yellow cardstock. And I do have another video that demonstrates how to use the custom cutting system. If you're not familiar with how to use it, you may want a little refresher with the custom cutting system. If you don't own the custom cutting system, I mean, you could do this with, you know, a compass even, some plates, whatever, you know, whatever you have. Okay, for the middle, we're going to use the smallest of the circles. I know that's not quite like intuitive. You're going to use the smallest circle, but we're going to use the blue blade. And so the blue blade, if you look at it, you can tell by looking at the little feet here on the blade compared to the red blade. The little feet are a lot farther apart on the blue than they are on the red. And that just shows you the distance that you're going to have coming out from the circle. And so we're going to use the blue blade on the orange cardstock. And that's going to be our next piece. And then our last piece, we're going to go to the medium circle, but we're going to use the inside with the red blade. So position your little feet in the groove and then go ahead and cut this smallest circle. So those are our 3 circles to make the candy corn. And then you're just going to stack these. Now, you want to use a little bit extra adhesive because of the way we're cutting this up. You need to be pretty generous, especially on this white piece, with the adhesive so that when you cut it, the pieces don't fall off. So position the white piece on top of the orange, and then we're going to do the same with the orange. Not quite as much adhesive, definitely around the edges and somewhat kind of towards the middle. We're going to cut off the middle itself, so you don't need to put too much right smack dab in the middle. And then position it again so it's like kind of this bullseye look. Now you're going to take your trimmer and be sure to swap back out your scallop blade. I have done these before and forgotten to swap that out. But put your regular straight blade back in. Remember that the curved side goes down, and if you forget, you can look at this little white piece on the top, and this, if you push on it, this moves a little bit to release that blade out of the case, and that's what makes this a safety blade. So, I mean, even little kids can use this trimmer because the blades are safe when they're not being used in the housing. So I put my straight blade back in, and then I learned a really cool trick about cutting circles with the 12-inch trimmer. I originally was trying to measure, trying to figure out how can I find the exact center, but I discovered that the cutting line is exactly centered between this little gap here on the trimmer. And so if you take your circle and make sure that you've got it lined up with both of these, so it's kind of setting in this little valley, then the exact center of this circular piece is going to be on the circle line. Now you're cutting through 3 layers, so you may want to go over it a couple of times. And you've got your pieces cut in half. Now you can also use the circle trick again and just line it up like this, but I found it was easier. I know that this is a 6-inch circle because it says it on here. Oh, it doesn't say it on here. All right, it says it on my on my templates, but trust me, this is a 6-inch circle. And so you're gonna line this up right about the 3-inch mark, this little corner. It does not have to be exact. It's really okay if your triangles aren't perfect, because we're gonna round the edges off. Okay, but then when you do this piece, you can use this, line up the point with the cutting line. And again, it doesn't really matter. So you can see on these that they're not exactly pointy. That one's a little bit off. And you could be completely off if you want, because it's just not going to matter. Oops, I didn't cut through twice. All right, so even this one that I purposefully cut way off, that's still going to be fine. So you're not going to use all of these. I only used 5 on my border, but it would be fun to have the others to kind of sprinkle on your page as an accent. All right, so now I've cut my 8 little candy corns, and you're already seeing the shape coming together. And then just take your scissors and round the top off and round the corners. Now you can do this with the corner rounder, but I feel like it's just as easy to do it with your scissors. And especially right here where you're cutting through 3 layers, the corner rounder didn't really like that. So just go ahead and round these off. I'm not going to do all of them because, like I say, we're only going to use 5. I mean, you could use however many you want. You can make this smaller. You can play with the sizes that you want your candy corn to be. You know, you just want to kind of look at the spacing for how you want, you know, the difference between the yellow and the orange and the white. All right, so I'm just going to take these over, and then I just kind of put them, you know, I overlapped a couple of them. I don't like them to all go in the same direction. Oh, see here, I didn't use enough tape, so this is, I cut all the tape off. So that's why you need to be real generous with your adhesive when you put your circles together so these don't come apart. Anyway, so this is my first one. If I were going to put this across a page, I would probably want to, you know, angle them differently. But just kind of whatever feels fun to you to make your border. Okay, we'll do this upside down guy. All right, so there you go. That was super easy to do this little candy corn border with the circles. All right, so I do have some little directions where I wrote everything down. If you want to, you know, look at this for a second, if you want to pause the video and copy these directions, that's pretty much the written directions of what you're going to need. All right, now we're going to move to the ghost border, and it uses a very similar technique to the candy corn, but we're going to use it to make ghosts. So for this one, you're going to need a piece of orange cardstock for the base, a piece of black. Now I happen to have some black shimmer left over from a previous cardstock buffet that I chose to use. You need some gray for the outside circles, some purple, yellow, green. You could use whatever color you wanted to for these inside circles. And then some white to be the actual little ghosts, and they're very fun. So we're going to start again from the bottom and work our way up. And for this one, we're going to use the Border Maker system. And we're going to use the Picket Fence cartridge. Now, if you own the Border Maker system from Creative Memories, this is the cartridge that everybody gets when they purchase the Border Maker system. It comes in the box with the Border Maker system, so everybody has it. But it's not really a cartridge that I see used a lot, and I think it's because people don't really know what to do with these little cutout lines. And in fact, we're not going to use the cutout lines. As you see, we're just going to use these little points just by covering it up. But I think it makes a lovely little kind of a pinking edge, you know, a little rickrack zigzag edge. So to use the Border Maker system, I also have a video on this one if you need a refresher. We're going to fold out our paper guide, lift up the magnetic holder, close that down, fold the paper guide out of the way, and then punch all the way down our 3 by 12 inch piece of orange cardstock. And then you're going to flip it over and punch the other side. Now this is just long enough to still work in the magnets, so you have to be careful with this when you're cutting a smaller piece that to make sure that you have enough that the magnet can grip on. But then we're going to punch down the other side. And if you don't have the Border Maker system, you could totally use like a wavy edge or some pinking scissors or, you know, some other decorative thing, or you could just leave it straight and just have a little bit of that contrasting border. We'll scoot that all out of the way. So here's this started as a 3 by 12 and now it's whatever it is. And this is 2 1/4 and it's just barely gonna fit. Actually, I want to put most of my adhesive in the middle so that I know that it will grip on there because I'm not sure where the holes are. And then you just carefully line this up so that it covers the parts that you punched out. And then you have that cute rickrack edge. You would never know that it's cut out on the back. All right, so there's our base. Then we're going to do the ovals. And for this one, we're going to use the ovals from the custom cutting system. And there are 4 ovals in this system. And this is the 3rd from the smallest. So not the biggest, but the next one down. If you have the old CM custom cutting system, this one actually has some sizing on here. Mine says 4x6, but apparently I've got some new ones too, and the new ones don't seem to say that. So this is not the biggest one, but the next one down. And we're going to use that to cut our gray little frames for our ghost windows. And for that, we're going to use the gray with the red blade on the inside. So I'm just going to quickly cut my 3 little gray windows, and then you want to cut a contrasting color. So for this one, I did purple and yellow, and because I'll probably put these opposite of each other on a page, I think what I'd like to do is do 2 yellow and 1 purple. So to do this one, you're going to want to go to the next size smaller, and that's the green. So I'm going to open up my green blade, and again, I'll show you the difference between, you know, the spacing between where the little yellow blade is. It kind of looks like a face, doesn't it? You can see there's just a bigger gap between the legs and the blade. So I'm just going to cut on this little piece of paper 2 yellow circles using the green blade, and then I'll cut 1 purple. All right, and then you're just going to want to layer these. Again, not a whole lot of adhesive. Just center those so that you get your little photo mat circles. One of the great things about the custom cutting system is how easy it is to cut a perfect mat just by using the 2 different size blades. All right, now the fun part where we're going to do our actual, I'll stick these down, where we're going to do our actual little ghosts. And they are very fun to do, the ghosts. Okay, so for this one, we're going to go back to the big circle. Now, this is not the jumbo circle. You know, we sell the big jumbo circle, but this is the set of 3 circles that a lot of people get with the custom cutting system as their first piece. So we're going to start with the biggest of the 3 and the red blade again. You could probably do it with the next size up if you wanted to, but I found that this was a good size and it worked well with that particular little oval. All right. And then we're going to do the exact same thing that we did last time with cutting the circle in half by balancing it in these little grooves. Now, if you don't have the CM trimmer, you're just going to have to try and line it up close to the 3 to cut in half. But this is just so slick to have that just balance right in there perfectly. All right, so I'm going to cut this, and then again, I'm going to do it the same way I did last time. I like having this straight edge to cut on to get the, actually I don't need all of these. You're only going to use 3 for a single border. And then again, this doesn't need to be precise because we're going to round the point to make the ghosts. The ghosts do require a little free cutting, and you could use the corner rounder on this, I think, if you wanted to, but I have another border I'm going to show you in a separate video that I do use the corner rounder, but for this, I like just to round it with the top, and then I kind of take my scissors and just kind of cut a little swoop down the side, just to make it not quite so straight. So basically, just this little, just a little softening of that edge. And then at the bottom, you just kind of do a little wavy piece. All right, so around the top, swoop in on the side. And it doesn't have, you know, you don't want it to be all the same because, you know, ghosts aren't all the same, or, you know, you want it to have that kind of freeform look so they don't look too identical. And we're just going to do 3 of them. And the nice thing is, because of this circle, you got 8 pieces. So if you really don't like the way your cutting happened, you know, you've got lots to practice on. So those are your 3 little ghosts. And then all you need is a black pen, and just use the bold tip side and just draw your little ghosty eyes on there. And then we'll just stick these on. You can see that I used my precious extra white cardstock for these. So nobody's going to see the back, so I can use my spare cardstock. Actually, I'm going to trim this little guy's head. Okay. All right, and there is this super cute little ghost border. So here are the directions. If you want to do the ghost border, again, you can, you know, freeze the video if you want to write these things down. All right, so here you go, quick and easy, the ghosts and the candy corn. And you could actually do these candy corn up and down. You know, I probably would change them so they're not like lying on their side. But if you wanted these on a sideways border, I'd do more like this. I made mine to go across the bottom of a page. So I hope that you will have fun making these quick little Halloween borders for your festive Halloween scrapbook pages. I do have another border that I want to share with you, but it's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to do it in a separate video and I'll post it in a day or 2. But this one I thought would be a good way to get you started with something that's just fast, using some of our favorite classic Creative Memories tools. I hope that you've enjoyed watching my video. I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe if you are so inclined, and I'll be back again soon. Thanks and happy scrapbooking.